It's ALO live here in Studio B. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having
It
us.
is a pleasure to have you in. It sounds like this is the latest effort from ALO. We're happy to have them live here in Studio B at WNCW. The band, I know, has a pretty storied life. This thing's been going on for some time, yes?
Yeah.
I mean, it dates back to adolescent days?
Yeah.
Into the 80s.
Yeah, about 12 years old, 11 years old.
So how did that fall together? Were you classmates in school?
Yeah, we were the ones that played instruments in our school.
You were the cool kids.
Yeah, well, at least you wanted a band, you needed some instruments, and we were the ones who had access to them.
We got cooler as it went on.
Was that because you came from musical homes? Did your folks encourage music?
Yeah.
Mine did.
Yeah.
I think all of ours did.
Yeah, our folks did.
Yeah, that helped, certainly.
Did they ever rue the decision when all of a sudden you were out there carrying on? Did they say, oh, boy, maybe you should have been a lawyer?
I think all of our parents were a little scared at one
Yeah.
point or another.
What have we done?
What have we done? Yeah.
We tried to be supportive, but we didn't expect.
I mean, you want your kids, I'm sure your parents want the kids to thrive and succeed.
How will you make a living?
It's not always, you know.
Is that still a question? It seems like you're rolling along pretty well, nicely now.
It's feeling good.
Excellent. All those years when you were a kid and playing along, did you have mentors, or was it just purely your own thing going on?
I think at different times we had different mentors, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think there were always different people. I remember my dad played guitar in a band when he was in school, and he kind of helped us out in the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
But and then different teachers. And,
Yeah, different people along the way that you'd meet or hanging out at guitar shops,
Yeah, we definitely went through the whole ringer of like taking music classes in school and into college and all that stuff, which was pretty essential to our whole.
So did you attend college together?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where we met Dave on drums.
All right.
UC Santa Barbara.
Go Gauchos.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know of the Gauchos.
We're all gauchos
Absolutely.
here.
Now,
Sometimes people even at that school are like, "What's our mascot?"
let me see now. I'm not. I have to.
Beer keg.
I have to stress my my.
How did you know that?
My West Coast athletics. Do the Gauchos play the Fighting Banana Slugs?
Good possibility.
I don't think so.
None of us did much
I don't think
sports.
there's a lot of like. I don't even think between at some point. Yeah,
I'm sure
I do think
they
the
do,
ultimate
but-
frisbee teams play each other.
yeah,
Yeah.
That
Banana
seems about
slugs and
right.
gauchos.
That's
Yeah.
right. Santa Cruz, right?
yeah. The frisbee teams go head to head. It's very vicious.
I will say, back on that earlier subject, of mentors and growing up and doing music, one of the things that has been really important for our band is the whole, we're all public school students, for elementary school, high school, junior high, all that.
Right.
And the public school music departments were really big for all four of us. That's kind of what got us a lot of the foundation for all our music.
So, wait. You mean there was money to support arts in schools?
There were
Exactly.
classes you could
Right.
take where you could learn instruments and even get access to instruments. And I remember my Fender Rhodes piano that I still play to this day. I take it on tour all the time. Was just wasting away in the back of the band room, and I asked the band teacher, like, "What is that? Is anybody using that?" And he said, "Why don't you take that home? I don't even think it works."
You can fix it.
Yeah.
Create some space.
Very nice.
Yeah.
But
And the sounds are still coming out.
Yeah, I use it all the time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we tried it. That's one of our sort of main things when we do a February tour each year called the Tour d'Amour, and it's a benefit for public school music programs.
That is that's so vital. In these days when we're seeing budgets being cut, the first thing that goes, music and arts. And so I tip of the hat to you guys for supporting that. Obviously, I wish every state had heroes like you guys out there supporting the arts like that. But a quick timeline on the band name, because we seem to have gone through a couple of changes along the 2 decades.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
8th grade, we were 1% away. Me and Zach and Dan.
Okay.
Yeah.
1% away.
I mean, do you want the whole thing, or you want just when the
Well,
first
maybe-
ALO thing kind of happened?
Maybe the ones that aren't embarrassing to you at this stage of the game.
Okay, I should have not said that one.
I'd say there was we kind of at some point we were Django.
We were
Like,
Django for a
after
while.
Django Reinhardt.
Sure.
And we took that into college, and then we saw Dave's band Evil Farmer play, and then we were like, we got to change our deal a little bit, maybe try to be a little bit more like Evil Farmer, and 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 then Dave joined the band in the late Django period, and we sort of transformed. We got a little less from, we kind of left our straight up pop rock thing, and we kind of went into maybe a more like pop rock, but with elements of jazz and all sorts of, we kind of opened up the cauldron and like put a bunch of other things that we liked into it, whereas before it was maybe a little more just kind of pop rock.
Yeah, restrictive.
Yeah.
Yeah. The moniker now, ALO, are you actively stepping away from, I mean, back in the day when Fly Between Falls came out, it was Animal Liberation Orchestra. Are you experiencing confusion with the masses on that, or is...
Yeah, it might not have been, there's a whole little bit of confusion. I can't tell how massive the confusion is.
It's kind of a loaded name, Animal Liberation Orchestra.
But like, not to all even confuse it even more by using this example, but what does AOL stand for? Does anybody remember?
America Online.
Right. Yeah.
But I bet a lot of people don't. They just say AOL, right?
Yeah.
So now it's a concerted effort to
It's just ALO.
ALO.
Yeah.
period.
But
Okay.
people ask us, like, we tell them we're ALO, and they're like, "Oh, what's that stand for?"
Yeah.
Kind of like the first question
Right.
you
Right.
get.
It does, I mean, I think we're still very, it's like the Animal Liberation, originally it was called the Animal Liberation Orchestra and the Free Range Horns. We were fresh out of college, we had this 9-piece band, and we had, at that point, we'd been in a period of like changing the name every 6 months. We were sort of searching for something, and then suddenly we were the Animal Liberation Orchestra, and I don't think any of us thought it would stick, but we liked the idea of that we were liberating people's animals on the dance floor. It just seemed kind of fun and adventurous.
Metaphorically.
Yeah.
I have seen the dance floor, and there are some free-ranging animals.
There
out
are some free-ranging animals.
We encourage this.
Very cool.
And we thought that'd be fun to, cater to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, for the listeners, we should remind them that either way, whatever they're looking up, it all falls under the little A label in the record stores.
Yes.
out there.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
either
going to
way.
be in the beginning.
Right over there in the left corner of your record store. Better independent music stores.
It's either next to Allman Brothers or Animal Collective.
There you go.
Right.
Easy to find. I guess we should throw the website out there.
www.alomusic.com.
How easy is that? One more time.
www.alomusic.com.
Yeah, with verve. There.
You said that nicely.
The new album. Let's get into this thing. I know you guys. Sounds like this. To my ears, the best sounding thing you've done.
Oh, thank you.
Very strong. This is the fourth edition under the Brushfire Records.
Yes.
Correct. And for those folks who aren't up on their record labels, that's Jack Johnson's home label. How did you guys get hooked up with Jack? What's that history?
He's a gaucho, too.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. We lived in the dorms together, actually.
Now, this album was not recorded in his studio, correct? It was
No.
done in the Bay Area, where you
Yep.
guys are from.
Yeah.
Was that a challenge? Does he normally prefer to work in his home space, or?
Well, this was the one. This album was kind of different in that we just sort of went a little bit rogue with this one, where we just started recording. We didn't even we weren't sure. We were actually at the end of our deal with Brushfire, but we know there was talk of doing another album, but so we just decided to start recording in San Francisco just with our friend, and we were just hungry to make an album. And then we kind of finished the album and was like, "Hey guys, we did it. You guys want to hear it?" And then they liked it.
Yeah, like, let's put it out.
Nice. Now, this one feels freer.
Yeah.
How did you approach the song construction? I mean, was there obviously in a live setting, you guys are very a great deal more free and improvisational. It seems. How did you bring that into the studio to make a record?
There was an intent to bring that in. I think just what you say there, the live kind of being relaxed with the arrangements and not uptight about getting to something really quick.
Yeah, we started with the jam.
Yeah,
we just
exactly.
started playing, roll the tape, and then we're like, oh man, that we were really getting going in that one section. Like maybe that could be part of a song, and then we kind of figured out. We kind of went backwards. We jammed first and then songed later.
Yeah.
Nice.
And sometimes you listen, I think it's dangerous to listen to the chatter too much. But a lot of our sort of core fan base expressed to us over the years how we really like these albums and we love these tunes, but it'd be great to hear an album where you guys kind of let the live kind of stretchy thing happen a little more. So I think as we were working on something, let's try to make that record. We haven't done that yet. Let's do that.
So how does that jive with the construction of lyrical content? Have you already got lyrics in mind and you just try to plug them in after the fact?
Some of them, yeah. I mean, some of them, yeah. I mean, like with a couple tunes, obviously some were more worked out songs, but I'd say most big portion of the album was like we would decide on a structure, and then I pretty much wrote lyrics to the structure, as opposed to vice versa.
Were there points at which you were running into dead ends and saying, "Oh, let's retreat"? And
yeah, there was actually a lot of. I mean, there was a lot more material we started with that still was cool, but it was like, oh man, because it's a time-consuming process. So there were a bunch of things that we sort of didn't end up using that we hope to release later when there's more time to work on them. But for that exact reason, that it was like, okay, we're not quite getting this one yet,
So you have a full medicine bag for a soon yet to be released.
Yeah,
album,
we're thinking maybe EP down the line or something. I mean, like Zach was saying, that all that stuff. It's not that the stuff we didn't put on the album was less good than the stuff we put on there. It's just like you got X amount of time to get everything done. So.
And it was the process was experimental. So we it was like, we gave ourselves, that's why we kind of were like, well, I think this will work to record like this, but we need it's like, so oftentimes the studio can be such a, you've got 2 weeks, boys, make the greatest album ever. You're like, oh man, I just the thought of that is like constraining. The creative spirit just is like the groundhog. You just like, I'm staying away for that.
People tell me like, yeah, the Beatles made that first record in a day or whatever, and it's like, why are you taking so long? It's like, well, it takes a long time.
Well, yeah, and they had like 12. I think the first record goes pretty quick because you've had all those songs in the can, but then it's like when you're building it, making it from scratch, it's like, okay. That's
right. It was a little more of an experimental process.
Well, and in saying that you might release an EP following this, I guess my observation is we're seeing more and more artists send out EPs. Do you think that's a result of the creative process, or is it because of this constriction of the music industry and how things are moving, I guess, away from album purchase as opposed to single purchases? I don't know. Is there any thought there?
I think it's
both.
I don't know if it's a constriction. I think it's like I think musicians they have the facilities to make lots of music these days. So I think bands and artists are making lots of music at home in their friends' studios and whatnot. There's just lots of like music being made, and it's just another way to get it out there. If you don't have a full record, but you still want to get the music out, and here's a half record,
Right.
I always feel like I'm always like so excited to record, and then the album cycle. It's like it's like by the time the label ramps up, and it's like 2 years have gone by, and you're like, oh man, those songs are old now. Like let's.
Sure.
A full length feels like a little more pressure. An EP feels like tangible. Like
you can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, kind of. You can like focus on 3 or 4 or 5 songs.
Well, if you're in the studio with this free aspect that you're trying, obviously if you have a big crowd of people in front of you on a stage, there is that energy transfer and you get jacked up. How do you maintain that or develop that in the studio?
We talked about that while we were recording this, actually, because one of the ways this album really differs from the other album is that it does have a more energetic feel.
No doubt.
Right, than the last one. And since we are pretty reactive musicians, we react to our space. I think on a lot of the past albums, like, you get in a dark, quiet room, studio room with your headphones on, and you create music that fits that vibe. So this time, it was one of sort of the purposes was like, okay, let's imagine a sold-out show at the Fillmore in San Francisco. It's 12:30. We're about to come on for an encore. How's this song going to feel? And really like make an intent to make music for that moment.
Visualization, they say, is the key.
Dave had a picture of like a show, one of our shows, all the fans out in the audience. He kind of kept holding it up and being like this, It was like visualizing show and tell.
You need the canned audience response in the studio, right?
The photo actually, I remember the photo very, very specifically, and it really, it showed you what we were going for. Yeah, it was kind of a guiding picture.
It's like, cool. Oh yeah, like if it would get too mellow, you'd be like, oh yeah.
Like, look at this crowd, they're nuts.
At the crowd, they're nuts.
It's like everyone starts
Don't make
talking.
me show you the picture.
So often you get lumped in with that rather nebulous genre of a jam band. Is that appropriate? I mean, you obviously, there's a lot of improvisation going on.
Sure.
On stage. I'm just curious how you kind of react to that label.
Yeah, it's an interesting word, you know.
I mean, nobody likes to be put into a category. You know, my essence cannot be defined. I am big, you know. But I mean, it's like there's lots of bands that are in the jam band genre that I love, and there's bands in that genre that I don't connect with. I mean, rock's a broader term. I kind of feel like we're just a rock band with elements of, it's like, I don't know. If you like jam bands, then I'd say, yeah, we're a jam band. If you don't, then I'd say we're something else.
Labels are very restrictive, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
But I understand why people need them, because it's like, our minds are trying to categorize everything all the time. There's a lot of information to store up there. So a lot of times we give a few keywords to anything that sort of comes our way. So I think that's not an inappropriate word for us.
It has a little bit of a stigma because it kind of, some people think like long songs like that just sort of drone on or whatever.
Too much noodling.
Noodling, yeah. Yes. Maybe not as much emphasis on the songwriting or the singing or whatever. And we take all that kind of stuff pretty seriously.
Yeah, I think the worst thing about the term is it's just not specific enough.
Right.
And so doesn't have a lot of meaning.
Well, strangely enough, I think for a lot of folks, that label has been so nebulous that it's actually dead now.
Right.
We haven't seen a big bubble up of bands that people, Fish or whatever, you can say, oh,
yes.
that's a jam band.
Yeah.
So we'll just dispense with the labels.
Yeah, I think everyone's moving on. Bands included.
We are moving on.
It'd be nice to, everyone was always like, my dad's like, how do you describe your music in 3 words? And I was like,
That's only one.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I can say.
Well,
good music.
Coming out of the Bay Area, obviously there's a lot of history with bands with improvisation.
Yeah, sure.
The Dead jumped to mind. Several people have commented that a few of these tunes on this album feel a lot like Shakedown Street era.
Totally.
Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
Was there any intent?
I don't think there was an intent, but that's definitely a part of our DNA. We grew up with a lot of that music. I mean, in that song that we played in the first sounds like this.
To kick right off.
Yeah,
right?
Zach talks about it. Grateful Dead show.
Yeah, I mean that was my first 3 concerts were Kenny Rogers was the first one. Second one was Huey Lewis and the News, and then the third one was the Grateful Dead. And it was like in that order, it was like a whole revelation about what music could be and what, you got Kenny Rogers who's doing these story songs and he's wearing like a jumpsuit and throwing out Frisbees. And then you've got Huey Lewis and the News, which at the time was, I was in 4th grade and they were pretty young and hip and had a horn section. It was kind of jazzy, but it was still real pop, Sure. And although the songs extended, man, if you saw Huey Lewis and the News back then, it was like they were doing 20-minute harmonica solos, dropping into a bass solo. I mean, they were taking "I Want a New Drug" as far as they could take that song, and then the Grateful Dead, and you're like, oh man, these guys are older. They're older than my parents, and they're wearing shorts, and they don't seem too concerned about their outfits, and they're playing this music, and I don't even know what to think about that music. It sounds like madness at times,
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. To the great pleasure of many people.
Yeah, yeah. It goes, that music speaks to the fringes of what music is. It's like the notes in between and everything else around, whereas so much of the pop stuff is just geared towards like, oh, we already all like this, so let's just do it again, Right. Whereas like that stuff's exploring the inner realm, seeing like, is there something that we left behind that maybe could be found, in between, in these new sounds, So I think that is I'd say it was a guiding force with this album.
Right.
And doing it in San Francisco specifically,
Right.
No doubt. I know the is the leadoff track Dead Still Dance.
Yeah.
That one. It
never
smells like San Francisco.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, the 2-inch tape machine at the studio that we used is one of the ones that was used on In the Dark.
Very nice.
So
there's a little history
There's a little
there.
tone comparison there.
I mean, was Shakedown kind of
Same
for them sort of like an album that was a dancier record in
Yes.
a sense?
It reflected the disco thing that
The
was
time.
going on at the time.
I think we kind of wanted to just touch on that a little bit on this record.
Well, we have
more moving.
We have the whole thing too, because I you know, as a younger Grateful Dead fan, I always loved Shakedown Street, but there were always those people who were like, "Oh no, disco, no." That's when it all took a dive, you know. But I think we grew up, you know, even my dad's like, "Oh no, disco you're not supposed to be into disco." But I was like, "Oh man, disco's cool."
Yeah, when like Michael
People
Jackson records were coming.
Yeah,
out,
I never had a problem with it. You know?
Discovering music, first hearing it.
Right. Now, in the live performance, when you're starting to launch off improvisationally, is there a leader amongst you, or is this is it so egalitarian that it's whoever's got the wheel at the time just runs?
We try to do everything pretty collectively.
It usually follows a soloist.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody's like usually soloing, and then the band is kind of
supporting,
sculpting the energy behind it.
Jump in behind, right?
Yeah. There's other moments where there's sort of everyone, like Plastic Bubble sometimes kind of can be sort of a group jam. Like
Right.
People can chime in and chime out and sort of. There's some songs that are that, and other songs where we follow a soloist.
Yeah, we have like little gateways, you know, like where it's like if Steve stays on a certain progression, then you know this is going to sort of extend out here, and then if Dan does a cue lick, then that'll kind of get us out of that section.
Sure.
You know, but so then there's like that little nebulous moment in between there that can be short or long depending on the way the audience is feeling at that time, or at least the way we perceive the audience.
I think one of the things we like to experiment with too is the idea of the waxing and waning of sound, you know,
Energy
in building
flow.
tension through dynamics, you know, like you can take something, it's all just notes and rhythm, but then like what do you do with it dynamically, you know, and like you can grow it and build it to
tension
flurry.
and release.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, which is I guess what life is all about.
I mean, our quest is music. You know, I mean, we're sitting in the car, like talking about music, listening to music, thinking about music, feeling music. So it's like, I feel like, you know, in that sense, we're just part of a tradition of musicians. You know,
And carrying the torch very well.
yeah. Thank you.
Indeed. You're wrapping it up in high style. It's ALO live here in Studio B at WNCW. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming by. They're out on the road, folks. You can catch them tonight in Charlotte at the Visualite, 17th in Raleigh at the Lincoln Theater, and Friday night back in Asheville with the String Dusters at the Orange Peel. Pleasure to have you guys in. Hope you travel safe, and we will see you very, very soon. Thanks to Dennis Jones for engineering the session, and Watson Video Productions for shooting the big thing. We take you now to a little piece of music courtesy of Mike Finnegan.